Okay. Uh, Today might be a shortish class because um, of various factors, such as very, very bad back pain. I told you yesterday. Was Yesterday itself. I told you in the evening that I had to do something, and because of that, and I'm in no shape to do anything like that, but I somehow did, and I have to continue to do after this class again today. So let's see how long I'll last. Okay. Anyway, uh, we have finished Aristotle. So let me just give you a very, very broad classification, okay, of the periods of Greek history, ancient Greek history, that correspond to various different provinces, various different geographies in Greece, okay, in ancient Greece, not in the modern Greece, not in the present day Greece, but in the ancient Greece. If you remember, we had started with the Milesian School, and this conforms to what is called the Ionian period. The Milesian school uh, conforms to this particular period called the Ionian period because that is the broad geography. Okay, that is the very, very broad geography in which Miletus was located, and therefore these people came to be called the Milesians. Can you just give me a second? Sorry about that. Yeah. This is called the Ionian period, which is where, you know, most of the activity happened in the police, which were in the Ionian geography. This is a little bit of a controversy the Eleatic School or the Eleatic School. There are both these pronunciations. Incidentally, some people pronounce Ionian as Ionian, which I suspect is American. And even this Eleatic and Eleatic confusion that we are seeing is possibly because of the fact that the Americans like to pronounce ease as ease when the British are not doing it. That is okay. So they'll pronounce an E as an E when the British are not pronouncing it that way. Like, so for example, uh, what? Uh, anyway, I can't think of anything now except car names, and I don't want to tell you those. So I think Eleatic is American, and possibly Eleatic is the correct pronunciation. But I'm going by I'm going by what was taught to me in school, which very funnily seems to have been a rule that has disappeared. We were told that we can uh, pronounce proper nouns in any way. Okay, you could pronounce a proper noun, a name that is. You could pronounce it in any way. This kind of corresponds to the notion of a proper noun. So therefore, think I don't know what happened to that rule. That was there in Renan Martin. Uh, Incidentally, a copy of which I found yesterday. And the grammar is so different now, because somewhere in the middle, I also seem to have bought a book on American grammar. So I brought these books, and I was in the evening. I was sitting and reading the rules of grammar. They're all completely changed. So I really don't know. Maybe I'm a dinosaur when I'm trying to tell you that the dinosaur from the Cretaceous period, probably, uh, or the Triassic period, sorry. And anyway, so Eleatic both seem to be accepted. Eleatic school, there is a little bit of controversy. Some people say this is a part of the Ionian period. And others tend to say it is a part of the Attic period. Attic is not the attic in your house. Attic is not the attic in the house. It comes from the province of Attica. Okay, it comes from the province of Attica. So, if you therefore look at this, some people say this corresponds to the Attic period, and that even in terms of the geography, uh, the Eleatic School um, is closer to Attica than it is to Ionia. So, and if you remember what we had done, if you remember what we had done with regard to these these things, uh, you will remember that both Plato and Aristotle uh, document the they basically document the coming to Athens uh, by uh, by Parmenides and Zeno or Zeno. Again, that's so. Uh, so they say that it belongs to. It should be a part of the Attic period because even though they were much older, both Parmenides and Zeno, but they were much older than Socrates, but uh, since they were all alive at the same place, at the same time, I'm sorry, and also ended up meeting each other, uh, that particular uh, instance is taken as putting the Eleatic School in the Attic period. Okay, so that is how. But some people will say no, it is a continuation of the tradition of the Milesians, which I find a little difficult to accept because the Milesian tradition is something that is closer. The Milesian tradition is something which is very, very close to, um, which is very, very close to uh, mm, being almost materialistic. Whereas if you take even Xenophanes of Colophon, who is the person who is supposed to have been the progenitor of the Eleatic school, uh, he also was somebody who would subscribe to that idealism that we see uh, later in the Eleatic period and in the philosophies of people like Plato. So let's take it as we'll choose a side instead of you know, being non-committal. Let's take it as it's a part of the Attic period. I've been trying to look because there are different versions. When we talk about the Greek language, we basically talk about uh, as if there is only one version of Greek. There are many versions of Greek, uh, just as it is in the case of Chinese. Okay, we think there is only one Chinese language, which is not true. The most well-known form of Chinese languages is Mandarin, Mandarin, and Mandarin uh, basically is the language uh, spoken by the upper crest. Okay, it is spoken by the upper crest of Chinese society. So here in Bashirbagh in Hyderabad, when I was a kid, there used to be a Chinese restaurant uh, which was called the Mandarin Room. And I'm just telling you this because it's a bit of a joke. And right next to it was a pawn shop, which also called itself the Mandarin Pawn Shop. Now, the Mandarin Room has disappeared. On the opposite side of the road, you now have this thing called the Shanbagh Vegetable Park. And right next to it, you have this Mandarin pawn shop. There's no Mandarin room, but we have a Mandarin pawn shop. So I wonder if these guys actually know Mandarin language. Anyway, so much for my wonderful jokes. So Attica is what we will, the Attic period is what we will say is represented by the Eleatic School more than the Ionian period. So let's put it that way. Then you have the Attic period itself. Attic School, which has school, I'm using very generally here. Milesian School and Eleatic School have specific meanings, but the Attic School doesn't have any such specific meanings. I'm just using it generally. Okay, or let's not use that because it can be confusing. Let me simply call it period. Which corresponds to the rise of the Sophists. First and foremost, I hope you remember our discussion on the Sophists. They were the ones who can be considered to be the earliest humanists, so to speak. That they were the first to talk about a man-centric universe, which is a metaphor. Please do not take it literally. Okay, please do not take it literally. So a man-centric universe was that which was created by the Sophists. And then there is the great, unparalleled Socrates. Socrates should be technically classified with the Sophists because he also worshipped goddess Sophia, who is the, it's not Sophia, it is Sophia, who is the goddess of learning. And probably Socrates was the most devoted of all sophists to goddess Sophia. But I will not include him among the sophists because most of his life Socrates spent arguing with uh, the sophists, the other sophists. So he shouldn't be clubbed with them. So I put him separately. And Bertrand Russell's description of him as a gadfly is perhaps very right. If you read Plato, he does come through as a gadfly. He is unstoppable in his conversations, all the documented conversations that you find done by Plato. And I don't subscribe to the idea that Socrates was a mouthpiece of Socrates was a mouthpiece of what should I say of um, Plato, a character created by Plato for the sake of uh, airing his own views. I don't think that is true. So Socrates has to be seen in a different light. He's neither a sophist, and he's certainly not Plato's mouthpiece, and truly great man. The contribution, if you want to understand the contribution of Socrates, please read the original texts of Plato, which I have found in my collection, and I, when when you stack things away, you don't know what books you have. So when I was going through them yesterday, I found so many. I have original writings of all the ancient philosophers, modern philosophers. So I don't know, it gave me a huge kick. Anyway, sorry about that personal soliloquy. Um, so Socrates is there in it. Then there is Plato, somebody whom I admire immensely. I admire immensely. Plato was really, he should be called a reformer of society. And he had such wonderful ideas of how to create a better society. I think that in itself is commendable, extremely commendable. Very commendable. And how much he is ahead of his times is something that is breathtaking. So there is Plato, then there is Aristotle. Well, I admire Aristotle as well. I admire Aristotle for the fact that his canvas, the canvas with which he was operating, is such a broad canvas, such a broad canvas. Uh, and I also believe that he's a very misunderstood philosopher, especially in India, among the political science uh, community, who have portrayed him as a defender of slavery and all that. Please remember, he didn't defend slavery as we know it. His idea of slavery was mutual dependence between the master and the slave. I don't even know if, like I told you yesterday, I don't even know if that is the correct word, that slave. Uh, and my lack of education in Greek language is a big handicap in actually trying to give you a very correct picture. So I will apologize for that. And I don't know, some people are saying nowadays that it is uh, mutual dependence or mutualism that you find in uh, Aristotle. I really don't know, but please don't write those words in the exam. You have highly uneducated people correcting your uh, answer scripts, setting question papers. Uh, so write what you want to. Okay, but Aristotle, not a revolutionary, not a patch on Plato, not a patch on Socrates, but great in his own way. He's great in his own way, and like I said, that one has to take into consideration the wide range of subjects, the wide range of subjects uh, that he covered in his discussions with his students. And it is these which have been documented as his numerous books, numerous books. And Aristotle also subscribes to the idea of the soul, which I forgot to tell you. And yesterday, when I found that book, The Anime, Denime, De is a separate word, Anime, anime, is actually translated into English on as on soul. So he does talk about the soul, though it is not so central to his philosophy as it is to Plato's and Pythagoras' philosophy. I should have written Pythagoras also somewhere here. Pythagoras, and I think they would fit into that period where, more corresponding with the Eleatic School, Heraclitus, Pythagoras. Okay, just let me write down. So you can add them there, doesn't really matter. So this is the period that is the bright period of ancient Greece. So when we talk of antiquity, when we talk of the Greek antiquity, we are talking about this period. If you like, you can add a few names here. For example, no, let me take out this comma. Apart from Aristotle, you can add Theophrastus. You can also talk about Eratosthenes. Okay, you can talk about those kind of people as well. I don't know. I think I told you about Eratosthenes. He was the first person he took off from Anaximander. He said that it is a circle suspended in space. So he calculated the circumference of the earth in a pretty good manner, because he was almost completely accurate in his calculation of the circumference of the earth. And he put imaginary poles and sunlight and the distance. So I explained all that. Let's not go back there. This is not, again, not going to start teaching Greek philosophy again. So this all corresponds. For those of you who are tipplers, please don't mistake it for the whiskey. I'm told by tipplers that it is a pretty good whiskey. From here on, you see that uh, there is a degeneration, and the period here is called the Hellenistic, also called and in terms of its geography, it is closer to the Mediterranean. It is not where Attica was, it's not where Ionia was, it's in a different place. And this period shows a decline in the uh, Greek period, as in there is no attempt here So that is a Hellenistic period, and with the exception of one person who is Epicurus, you cannot identify any names. You only talk about schools here. The Hellenistic period this period saw schools such as the Stoics, the Cynics, and the Epicureans. I told you the Stoics believe that we can't know the world, and whatever comes to us, we have to accept it. take it stoically. You'll say somebody is being very stoic when somebody doesn't show either happiness or grief. So it is accept life as it comes. Don't try to say, why did this happen? Don't try to find the cause for various things that happen. Don't do all those things. They are futile. The cynics are even worse. The cynics are even worse because they believe that there's nothing good in this world. They believe that there's nothing good in this world. Everything that happens happens for the bad, not for the good. It's all about suffering. Okay? It's all about suffering, and you have to put up with it. Don't complain. Don't complain. This is your life, put up with it. It's all about suffering. Now, the Epicureans, on the other hand, actually give you an opposite philosophy. People use hedonism in the context of Bentham. I have told you this before. Please don't use it because hedonism has a very, very particular meaning. Hedonism is that it is a form of materialism. No, no, hedonism is a form of materialism that denies the existence of the soul and of any higher or lofty purpose of life. Okay? So, hedonism is that it says life is purposeless. We are just matter, the body is matter. When you die, it basically means that whatever energy, whatever energy there was or there is in the body is gone. There's nothing more to it. There is no such thing as soul. There is no such thing as suffering. There's no such thing as good. There's no such thing as bad. It denies all these and it says just enjoy yourself. Drink, make merry. And Epicurus was a cripple, but he made merry. He made merry. So this is a very, very degenerative form of thinking, uh, hedonism, and please do not use it in any other context. This is Oh my God. This is something. Shut up, please. Krishna. No. Krishna. So it denies any higher purpose of life. So it's really degenerate. It is really, really degenerate in every which way. So please don't use it anywhere else. Okay? All pursuits of pleasure are not hedonistic. Right? All pursuits of pleasure are not hedonistic. Hedonistic is a specific kind of a pleasure. From here onwards, I mean, this is already decline. From here, let me put it. Okay, let me clarify one thing here. Let me clarify one thing here. Why did I put this here now? If anybody wants to know. This we started teaching on 6th of April. We went on till 4th of May. And where are we? Well, today, your entire summer vacation, which I took away and did political ideologies, which was a big break. We did till Plato, and we went into a break, a pretty big break, where we went in pursuit of political ideologies. And then we came back to Aristotle. So I thought there was a loss of continuity in teaching the Greek period. And in the middle, we were doing the hermeneutic, which is the interpretative method part. So we lost the thread, I thought. That thread is there in my mind because I'm teaching. But as students, I don't know if you could pick up the thread again from where it was. And I therefore thought it prudent and a good thing to sum up the Greek period for you. To sum up the Greek period for you so that you get a picture of what the Greek period is. Otherwise, you might just have fractured uh, pieces of information which some of you may be able to put together. This is not a mental ability. Please, when I say some of you may be able to put together, by that I mean those of you who have paid closer attention to it may have been able to piece these things together. But the others uh, who didn't come regularly and those who came sporadically and even those who came regularly but saw each of them separately uh, probably would not have been able to the summation, you wouldn't have been able to connect those dots because there were interferences of other kinds. So, keeping that in view, despite this being considered a waste of time, despite this being considered a waste of time, I basically thought it prudent. I basically thought it prudent to let you people know that this is what the Greek period can be divided into and seen as if you put a whole picture. So this is please understand that this is the whole picture of what the Greek period is. I've only drawn the picture. The content you already know. If you have doubt, please go back to YouTube. It's there on that. So there's no problem. You can get it. And the links are all there on your formal class group. So you can just have a look at it if you have anything. Or you can ask me doubts, which I am very, very happy to. I will be very happy to clarify if you have any doubts. Not just now, you can ask me later. So, no problem. I do not believe that we should have uh, we should have any setting like you can ask a doubt here, after this no more. None of those. Now, one of the feedbacks I received is from Madam Kirti, uh, and I have to answer one part of her um, concern. Madam Kirti is concerned that I'm going a bit slow, or rather too slow, and that by being slow, uh, I am possibly going to deprive you of a chance to study properly for your exams. Wasn't that your doubt, Kirti?
Actually, no, sir. I want you to complete the syllabus, sir, because I don't want to miss the
No,
knowledge of all the philosophers.
no, I
That's the
will. I have to complete the syllabus.
reason.
There's no way I'm not going to not complete the syllabus. What I'll do is ask you to come for some extra classes. Worst comes to worst. Worst comes to worst. Okay? The syllabus will be completed. You can rest assured about that.
Because I had a very bad experience in our degree, sir. Our teachers never used to complete the syllabus at time. So
No,
that's the reason.
no, 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 no. Ma'am, I assure you, ma'am, that you're going to have the syllabus completed. Okay? If I don't complete the syllabus, yeah, I'll come to arts college and you give me a resounding slap in front of everyone. Hmm?
No, sir, don't say like that.
No, I'm telling you.
Hmm. I have a huge
Okay.
respect for you, sir.
No, no, thank you. That's very kind of you. I will complete the syllabus, ma'am. I
Okay,
will. Yeah. So I take time because, when you hear things properly, three-fourths of your work is done. Please believe me. This is what I have learned in life. Three-fourths of your work is done. And therefore, just hear things properly. That is my request to all of you. Okay? Uh,
Okay.
and if you argue, ask questions, that is an even better way of remembering what is being discussed in class. Madam Padma has got just disgusted and she just left. So, anyway, so let's now your wonderful syllabus will now talk about a period which it calls pre-modern or something, and it goes straight to the church state controversy. In my informed opinion and well considered opinion, we cannot make this jump from Aristotle right to the uh, what do we say? Uh, you won't be able to make a jump uh, without compromising on various things that you're supposed to know. So, what I intend to do now is briefly pick up the Roman period, very briefly, and also explain to you the rise of Christianity. Because unless you understand the rise of Christianity, you will not be in a position to understand uh, the whole idea of why there was this church state controversy. I will not be calling it that. I will be calling it the Imperium Sacerdotium controversy. That is what I will be calling it. Okay. I will not be calling it this particular thing uh, that is there, which is church state. There was no state. That is the reason why I won't be calling it that. Okay. Now, if you look at what happened after the decline of Greece, just a second, please. Sorry. My day begins with about 16 or 17 medicines, which make me very thirsty. So, one good thing is my doctor has decided to come and take my first floor. So, that's a good thing. I'll have a doctor nearby. What nearby? Right in my house. Anyway, so yeah, now we'll go to the Roman period. after the decline of the the Greece of ancient Greece, after the Hellenistic period came in, at that time you have uh, okay. So when we are talking about the Roman civilization, please remember one thing, that the Roman civilization is very different in its uh, it is very different in its nature from the Greek civilization. So the Romans were some kind of a republic in the beginning. Okay. The Yes, ma'am.
Sir, please explain the word civilization, sir.
Yeah. Now, civilization is something that comes from Rome. Civic, civilized, public, republic, all these are things which come from Latin, the language spoken by the Romans. So, what is civilization? Yesterday, I had emphasized on Aristotle looking at human society as an organism. I kept insisting on that. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, and I said Aristotle looks at human beings as animals, which is an equally interesting thing. And he looks at the human beings, even when they have reached the highest stage of rationality, the politeia and eudaimonia, even at that time, man is still natural, political animal. Now, if you look at civilists, which is the root of the word civilization. Civilis is a person, or rather, Civ is a person, Cive. Civilis is uh, it can be any entity, a society. It can be, you know, a territory. Civilis indicates people moving away from nature. That is the first and foremost thing that you have to remember. Look at the whole of the Greek civilization. People say there was a Draco, there was somebody else, but there was no codification of laws. There was no codification of laws. Everything was a verbal agreement that yes, this can be done and this cannot be done. Right? If you look at the Indian Janapadas, I would like to do a class on this in the evening because it'll enrich your understanding of a lot of things. Uh, if you look at the Janapadas, what were the laws? Don't go by that stupid rubbish that Manu was a lawgiver. And no, Manu had nothing to do with the Dharma Shastras. And people agreed on what the Dharma Shastras said was right. And therefore, it was, and at that time, people didn't write. Please remember that. Okay, at that time, people didn't write. All transmission of knowledge in ancient India was purely oral. Sanskrit, when did it get its script? Sanskrit was the language in which everything is. 11th century. Okay, so till then, and the Devanagari script, which we use for Hindi, that was given to Sanskrit, which makes many people think that Hindi is like Sanskrit. It is not. It really is not. Anyway, but that's deviating from the point. Now, when you say civilis, what you're saying is that I am no longer somebody living like an animal in nature. If there are laws of nature, so be it. Let them be applicable to animals that are incapable of thought. Okay? They are incapable of rational thinking. They are completely incapable of that. So the Romans decided that they were going to be different. So they therefore created this particular thing. I'll write it here. Societas civilis. So first and foremost, they are saying that human beings are consciously organizing themselves into a society, and society basically means interdependence, mutual interdependence among the people. But what they were also saying is that it is civilis, civil. Now, when you talk about civil, even today, there is one particular usage which will tell you being civil is being polite, being courteous, being well behaved, and leading a disciplined life. Even today, this is what civil means. And if you go to America, here when we have holidays uh, in the summer or whatever, we don't do anything. Okay? We basically don't do anything. We sit at home and enjoy ourselves, which for me is not a bad thing at all. It's really not a bad thing. I am not particularly a fan of what the Americans do. The Americans have what is called a civic initiative. Okay, just stretch. Civic initiative, which means that as citizens of society who are getting educated, the students are supposed to give something back. They are supposed to give something back to society. So there are, depending upon what kind of a university you are studying in, you have different kinds of civic initiatives. One kind of civic initiative is that which is not there, which is there in not so rich universities, universities that don't have the money to spend. They'll organize students into groups and ask them to do social work, to work with the deprived sections, to help them out in education. Okay, their main thing is education. They help them out in education, and they also they also do physical labor. They paint the houses of the poor and things like that. So that is a civic initiative, because it is civic, because you're a citizen, which is civ. The CIVE, actually it's not civ, it is cive. Okay, it is cive. Everybody pronounces it as civ. So yeah, I was also doing it. Cive. Cive is the root of the word citizen. It actually doesn't translate into citizen, because a citizen who is one who lives in a city. Cive basically translates into a civil person or a civilized person, if you like. So, what is the civic initiative? You're going and helping fellow people, the ones who are probably less advantaged than you. I used to coordinate a program here with Duke University, and for some time with the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Uh, there were people coming from those places. People were coming from Duke University. They were coming from the University of Duke University is on the East Coast. It's one of the very well-known universities, and Wisconsin is in the Midwest, Madison. Uh, so these people would come here. The Duke people didn't have a very elaborate program. They were supposed to attend a few classes. I was able to do this when I was in TISS because there was some decent faculty there. I'm not doing this now after I came back to OU from TISS because there's no faculty to. I can't be a one man show. I could be a coordinator, but I can't be everything. So, anyway, so the Duke people had to go through some learning of India's past, its present, and they had to understand why the situation of the people in India is the way it is. And then they were supposed to go out and work with the depressed groups. So we used to take them to this place called Chinchod. It is near Shadnagar. Uh, there was one research scholar uh, whose village it was, a very backward village, people living in abject poverty. And these people, these students, including girls, they used to be about no 8 to 12 usually. And these people would actually do cementing. The university would pay for it for a house that needed repairs. They would paint the houses and they would do all this in their vacation. So that is being civilized, helping other people out. But underneath all this is the fact that you're not an animal, you're rational. So that is why when we do civics in school, okay, why are we calling it civics? Because that is supposed to inculcate civic sense in us. When you see somebody opening a car door at a red signal, the driver, and spitting out probably 2 or 3 gallons of whatever that was there in his mouth. I suppose it's gutka and all that kind of stuff. He opens and spits. People riding motorcycles. In fact, at one point, when I was still riding motorcycles, when my health was all right and I was not kicked upstairs into using cars, now I have a chauffeur driven car. So at that particular time, at one time I was at a red signal. One fellow comes, pulls up, and I was there next to him, and he goes, "Pat," he spits right next to my foot. So I told him, "What is wrong with you? Are you crazy? You're spitting on me." And you know what this man says? "Chal be, chup." At that point, I decided there's no point in talking to this man. No civic sense. To use an expression from Hobbes, this fellow is brutish. He's a brute. First he spits. First he spits almost on my leg. The spatter of his spit did hit my leg. And when I protest, he's threatening me. So this man doesn't have civic sense. People who open the car doors and split do not have civic sense. People who are sitting in the window seats in city buses, and they look out and they spit while the bus is on in the traffic. My friend's father, very famous dentist in his time, I think he was one of the first orthodontists in Hyderabad. He was, he made truckloads of money, but he was an extremely simple man. So he used to use a scooter. And one day somebody spat from the bus straight onto his shirt. That spit came and hit him on his shirt. So he decided, I'll buy a car. At least I won't get spat on. He was a very, very simple man. He didn't believe that just because I do well, I need to have a car. He didn't believe that. But he was forced to buy a car because somebody spat on him. So you see, this is lack of civic sense. People urinating on the roads. Urinating on the roads. Lack of civic sense. So cive, civilis, all basically convey our moving away from nature. I'm glad you asked this question. Again, I'm giving a long answer. And Akshay
No problem, sir.
Pantul,
It
mm,
is. You're
uh,
clearing the concept, sir.
yeah. So Akshay Pantul is saying, when will this answer get over? When will this answer get over? Hmm? Uh, so that is what we mean by civilization. So when we live like civilized human beings, there are many components to it. Okay. One component is being courteous to fellow people. This is one component. The other component, oh God, what happened here? Disaster. One is being courteous to others, not being like animals. Animals urinate, defecate, they do all that wherever. We don't. We don't, right? We, even in our houses, we have places designated for various different kinds of activities. So we don't live like animals. Even Aristotle's conception of animal is not the wild animal, but a civilized animal, not a feral animal, Feral, wild. Okay, so not being like animals, that is the second part of it. One is being courteous to people, the other is not being like animals. Then so you're going to have a system of laws which you may have come to, which is what the panchayat system is. Okay, today people say khap panchayats are terrible things. Uh, the khap panchayat is a perversion of the original idea of what the panchayat samiti was. Okay, but it is also oral laws. Okay, laws can be oral, they can be written, but they are followed by everyone. Okay, then the next point is this. Let me explain what it means. What is commodious and sociable dwelling? This is having responsibility to others. Being, you have to have responsibility, not just for your sake, but you have responsibilities even towards others. Okay? Like, for example, as per law, if there has been an accident on a road, if there has been an accident on a road and you have a four-wheeler which has space in it, it was, it is mandatory to pick that man, put that person in your car and take him to the hospital. In the past, there was one problem with this. If you took a person to the hospital, admitted him there, then your responsibility didn't end there. Okay, you would get kept, you would get calls by the police and say, come, you have to testify, you have to do this, you have to do that. So what happened is people don't want that. Why do you want to have to go to a court of law for something that you haven't done? You've done a good deed and then you're being harassed by the police and the law courts. So people stop being good Samaritans. So that law was amended. Now your responsibility ends with handing over the patient to a hospital. So it is still a crime if you drive away from an accident scene, drive away from a person who needs help, and if you have hit a pedestrian, either while driving a two-wheeler or while driving a four-wheeler, if you have hit a pedestrian or if you have hit another motorcycle or whatever, and if that person is injured, it is your responsibility to take that person to hospital. It's your responsibility to take that person to hospital. Okay, so that is responsibility to others. And why is this so? Why do we talk about this? This is to inculcate solidarity. This is to inculcate solidarity among people. Solidarity is the basis of society. So, the original meaning of civil society is a civilized society. I told you, animals also have their societies. Lions have their prides, elephants have their herds, wildebeests have their even bigger herds, impala, Thompson's gazelles, all of them, they're all social. But are they civil? Civil is missing. So, civil, civic, cive, all these are indicative of one thing. What is it indicative of? It is indicative of the fact that we are no longer living like animals. We are no longer living like animals. That is what civilization is. That we are living a higher form of life. We have been, due to our rational faculty, which the animals apparently don't have according to Westerners. But believe me, they have. They have. I showed this to my dog and they stopped barking. Mm. So we are supposed to have risen over animals. We are supposed to be living a life of cleanliness. For the Romans, that was another thing. Okay, cleanliness. We are supposed to be clean. We are supposed to be clean. Okay, so if somebody is filthy, you don't treat him as a human being, do you? If somebody is really filthy, we get put off by that sight of that human being. Just imagine somebody comes to class in dirty clothes, smelling of sweat, reeking of alcoholic smell. How would you treat that person? You'll say he's not civilized. So that is it. Being civilized is being better than animals in all these ways. In all these ways. Having said that, I will say the Roman civilization failed in one basic aspect. Today the time is up. Then I meet you on Monday. The Roman civilization was glorious. I mean, if you read that book by Gibbons, he says that it is the greatest thing to ever have happened to the world. Gibbons, I forget his first name. Okay, but he believes that it was the greatest thing to have happened to the world. That is not true. That is not true. That is why I said there is a link between the fall of Rome and the rise of Christianity. The fall of Rome and the rise of Christianity. And that has civilization at the center of it. It has civilization at the center of it. The failure of the Roman civilization led to the rise of the Christian civilization. So I think I should stop here now. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Clearly.
Yeah. Akshay
Thank
Puneet,
Sir,
have you decided that this man needs to be killed in the interests of humanity?
no, sir.
Hmm? I think you have.
No,
I,
sir.
I am getting dreams of Akshay coming with one gun and damn, 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 while I'm. Hmm? You scoundrel, you're torturing us like this. We ask a simple question, and what kind of an answer is that? One word and so much time. Sorry, Akshay.
It is specialty of you, sir.
Not a
Really, sir.
yeah, not a good one though, I guess. Uh, so thank you. So we will meet on Monday and we'll pick up this the Roman civilization. We'll pick that up.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kirti, thank you. I didn't realize that I didn't explain civilization. I just took it for granted that everybody knows, which is one of the wrong things. That's why I said, please ask questions. All right. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you.